I'm Christine White in the Beads Incorporated studio, and today we are talking about chain linking and using round nose pliers to create loops. A round nose plier is just that, a plier with a round nose. We wrap a wire around that to create a perfect circle. And so we're going to be using a pliable gold or silver wire to create chain links and incorporate things into existing chain. So what you'll need for this skill are 22 or 24 gauge wire, some chain, and then beads of your choice, as well as some wire cutters. So let's get started. Before we begin, let's look at some rosary chain styles. These are created using separate pieces of wire where each bead is linked to the next. We can also have fun with your own beads and patterns and create your own design. We're going to start by cutting several sections of wire. I'm using a 22 gauge gold craft wire. I cut my sections about 3 to 4 inches long. We're going to use our round nose pliers to make a loop closer to one end than the other. Starting about 1 inch down the end of the wire, using our round nose pliers, we're going to make this loop midway through our round nose pliers, wrap our wire away from us and back towards us, coming up under our pliers. And you'll notice at this point we have this loop at the top and then this little arm sticking out at a 90-degree angle. It's important to make note about this 90-degree angle. At this point, we want to remember that later. With our pliers still through this loop, we're going to start to wrap this little piece around itself 2 to 3 times, really watching where that coil is formed. Getting a nice, pretty coil. And then we can remove our round nose pliers and now use our wire cutters and get a nice clean cut, snip off our excess wire. We're going to add our first bead. And next, we'll treat it kind of like a head pin, like we use for making earrings and charms. Use our round nose pliers again. Hold it slightly above the top of that bead with a little bit of breathing room in between. With a nice firm grip with our right hand, take this top piece and bend it away from us and back towards us, coming up under our pliers. And now we're going to twist this around itself 2 to 3 times, making a wrapped loop on the other side of our beads. So we've created our first link, and now we're going to snip off our excess wire on the other side. Now we're ready to link to this one and create our second loop. So we're going to grab our next piece of wire, using our round nose pliers again. This is where it gets a little bit trickier. We're going to make our loop closer to one end than the other, wrap our wire away from us and back towards us, coming up under our pliers again. Remember where we made note of that 90-degree angle and that open loop before the beginning of our first step. We're going to take our pliers off of that loop now. Leaving that loop open, setting down our pliers, we're going to pick up our first charm that we made, loop it through. So now our 2 charms are interlocking, and this is where the chain starts to build. Pick our pliers back up, and now we're going to hold our pliers over that loop just to keep the shape while we're twisting and keep some rigidity in there. Holding our pliers over that loop, now we're going to start to twist our shorter piece of wire around our longer piece of wire 2 to 3 times, making a nice pretty coil. We always want to be very cognizant of that we're getting a nice, attractive twist when we coil those wires together. We're ready to add our second bead and use our round nose pliers again. Hold it slightly above the top of that bead, a little bit of breathing room in there. Again, it starts to feel more like a head pin. Wrap this away from us and back towards us. A nice clean 90-degree angle. And then start to coil it around itself. Set down our round nose pliers and we're ready to snip off our extra. You can see where our chain starts to come together, and it's starting to feel more like the rosary chains that we mentioned in the beginning of the video. So now we're going to look at how we can incorporate beads into an existing chain. You also see this long linked quatrefoil necklace like I have here, and I'm also wearing one as well. It makes a great layering piece, and it's super easy to create. So when we want to incorporate a bead into an existing chain, it might be a chain by the foot, maybe it's soldered, maybe it's not soldered. You'll have to measure your chain for where you want to incorporate your beads and then actually cut your chain. Keep in mind that any beads that you add to your chain are going to add some length, and maybe lay out your pattern like I'm doing here. So our next step for this one is going to be using our pre-cut pieces of 22 gauge gold craft wire, using our round nose pliers again. Hold our pliers closer to one end than the other. Make this loop again, very similar to the steps in the rosary linking. Away from us and back towards us with this loop and then this little angle. Link it through one side of our chain so it's interlocking. And now we're going to hold our pliers over this loop to keep the shape while we're twisting. Coil this piece of wire around itself 2 to 3 times, really making sure that we make a nice, pretty coil. Pick up our wire cutters, get a nice close cut to snip off our excess wire. Add our first bead. Now we're going to use our round nose pliers again, pardon me. Make a loop above that, a little bit of breathing room in there. We leave that loop open. A lot of people tend to want to twist right away. It's that same kind of natural feeling of the head pins and making earrings, but we always want to remind ourselves to set those pliers down so that we can take that chance to add our chain or our next link. So now we're going to hold these pliers over that loop to keep the shape while we twist 2 or 3 times and snip off our extra. And that's how we incorporate a bead into chain seamlessly, and it becomes part of the chain. So we would just do that throughout the whole necklace and create a long or a short necklace. It even works for bracelets. And that's how something like this would come together. You can see you can have a lot of fun with this and create your own patterns, linking different found objects together, your own beads at home and your own bead box, or create your own pattern and design using things that speak to you. Thank you so much for joining me in the Beads Incorporated studio. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons below. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and be sure to check us out next time.